Hello friends, in this video we'll look at the biblical book of Ecclesiastes from the Old Testament from chapter 1 verses 1 to 11. Let me read from the passage. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What does man gain by all the toil at which he toils under the sun? A generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun goes down and hastens to the place where it rises. The wind blows to the south and goes around to the north. Around and around goes the wind, and on its circuits the wind returns. All streams run to the sea, but the sea is not full. To the place where the streams flow, but there they flow again. All things are full of weariness, a man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done, and there is nothing new under the sun. Is there a thing of which it is said, see, this is new? It has been already in the ages before us. There is no remembrance of former things, nor will there be any remembrance of later things yet to be among those who come after. Let's look at the passage verse by verse and see how this passage applies to our lives as Christians. Verse 1 says, the words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Some scholars think that this is David's son, Solomon, who wrote this book, but others think that Solomon did not write this book. Rather, the author is using Solomon's persona, his kingship persona, or at other times different personas, such as the preacher or the teacher, in order to communicate his message from different voices or points of view. Be that as it may, let's look at verses 2 to 3. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What does man gain by all the toil at which he toils under the sun? This word vanity is used frequently throughout the book. The word in Hebrew is hebel, which means vapor or breath. The word is used to describe something that is passing, fleeting, temporary, empty, futile, or unsatisfactory. From verse 2, what we derive is that the author is saying that all, literally everything in life, all is temporary and passing or fleeting. Work, relationships, pleasures, enjoyments, adventures, achievements, endeavors, etc. Everything in life is like a breath. When you breathe out the air, when you exhale the air, you can't grasp or grab hold of the breath or chase after the breath you just let out. It's gone. That's what life and everything within life is like. It is temporary, it is passing, it is fleeting. Verse 3 says, what does man gain by all the toil at which he toils under the sun? The idea of what does man gain by all that he does is repeated throughout the book. Also, this phrase, under the sun, is often repeated in the book. The point that the author is making is that if everything that we do in life is not lasting, is temporary, and is done under the sun, which means that if everything is done with this earth only, this world only, this earthly, this worldly, this life only perspective, then everything in life and all that we do in life is futile or vanity or pointless. After saying this, from verses 4 to 8, the author will look at the natural world to illustrate the vanity or futility of life, of everything in life. Verse 4 says, a generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. The author is saying that life is passing, is temporary. One generation comes and then goes, but the earth endures, basically emphasizing our passing or fleeting nature. Verse 5 states, the sun rises and the sun goes down and hastens to the place where it rises. This verse describes the sun as gasping or hastening to the place from which it began or started, all of which is monotonous and endlessly repetitive, and the pattern of our lives and work is like that. Verse 6 says, the wind blows to the south and goes around to the north. Around and around goes the wind, and on its circuits the wind returns. This verse is pointing to the wind blowing in all directions, but it doesn't reach a final point. This is to illustrate the monotonous, restless, and pointless or futile nature of human work or endeavors. Verse 7 states, all streams run to the sea, but the sea is not full. To the place where the streams flow, there they flow again. This verse is pointing to the lack of lasting gain or progress from human work, which is illustrated through flowing streams that don't seem to fill up the sea. Verse 8 says, all things are full of weariness, a man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. The repetitive nature of all things, including the natural world, leads a person to a deep sense of being tired, weary, or dissatisfied with life. So after looking at the endless cycles, the endlessly repetitive nature of the natural world, the author concludes in verses 9 to 11 that there is nothing new under the sun in the lives, history, or legacy of human beings. The way things are repetitive and not new in the natural world, similarly, there is nothing new under the sun in the lives, history, or legacy of human beings. Let's look at verses 9 to 11. What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done, and there is nothing new under the sun. Is there a thing of which it is said, see, this is new? It has been already in the ages before us. Now, the author is not saying that there really is nothing new in an absolute sense. He's saying in a relative sense. He's saying that there are a lot of fundamental things about life that are not new. You may have new technology, breakthroughs in science and medicine and various fields, but a lot of the fundamental things of life, just like the natural world, are not new. For instance, we come into this world by being born as babies. We don't live for long, or we don't live forever. We have to eat, drink, and sleep. We have to survive. We have to deal with a lot of problems in life, and we die at some point. So these things are not new. Verse 11 says, there is no remembrance of former things, nor there will be any remembrance of later things yet to be among those who come after. The author ends with verse 11 by basically saying that all things that human beings have done and have achieved, no matter how wonderful they are in one generation, those things would be forgotten by succeeding generations. So from Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verses 1 to 11, I have 3 points of application for the Christian life. 3 points of application for Christian life. First, we have to remind ourselves of the vanity of this life. We have to remind ourselves of the vanity of this life. By vanity, I mean that this life is fleeting, temporary, and futile apart from God. If we reflect on the question asked in verse 3, it says, what does man gain by all the toil at which he toils under the sun? All the hard work that we put in is ultimately pointless and of no lasting significance if there is no vertical dimension. If God is not there in the picture, if there's no relationship with God, everything is pointless and of no lasting significance. I understand that we all want meaning. We all want our lives to be meaningful and to have perhaps some lasting significance. But as Jesus said in Matthew chapter 16, verse 26, for what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? The point is that apart from having a relationship with God through Jesus Christ and living your life in light of that, our toil and gain would be pointless and of no lasting significance and would be at the expense of losing one's soul. But we can make our lives meaningful and of lasting eternal significance if we live for the glory of God in Jesus Christ. As Jesus said in Matthew chapter 6, verses 19 to 21, Matthew chapter 6, verses 19 to 21, he said, do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Second, it's important that we find our identity and worth in God, not in work, career, relationship, or achievement. You may find your identity and worth in being a business person, a software developer, a philanthropist, a parent, a son or daughter, or in your worldly achievements, etc. But similar to the last point, these are temporary and of no lasting significance apart from God. Our relationship with God through a saving faith in Jesus Christ protects us from falling into the trap of finding our ultimate identity in this world, because it is God alone who gives us a true identity and worth of lasting eternal significance. Third, lastly, the nature of life, daily living can feel repetitive. We get up every day in the morning, we do this and that the whole day, and then we go to sleep at night. All of this can make us feel weary, jaded, pointless, and empty. And to deal with or cope with our predicament or existential condition of ours, we do this and that, pursue all kinds of worldly pleasures, experiences, and novelty, ranging from extreme asceticism to extreme hedonism. But the point is that because of the repetitive nature of life and everything within it, there is a longing for something more that can satisfy our deepest desires and hungers. And only God, through Jesus Christ, can satisfy this longing within us. I end with a quote by C.S. Lewis, who said this: If I find in myself desires which nothing in this world can satisfy, the only logical explanation is that I was made for another world.